Hello, and welcome back to the Pitlane Collective Podcast. This is the second time we're doing this.
We've kind of recorded most of this episode already.
Yeah, we had to stop because the dog was barking.
Yeah, someone knocked at the door. Either that or he's a big fan of Daniel Ricciardo. We're talking about Daniel Ricciardo a lot, and he got upset.
Yeah.
Talking about Daniel Ricciardo.
This is going to be a Daniel Ricciardo heavy episode.
Don't feel like we've mentioned Daniel Ricciardo enough. But
Daniel
Ricciardo is going to feature quite a lot in this Daniel Ricciardo heavy.
Yeah. So it is the Daniel Ricciardo special.
It is.
And without further ado, let's get into that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about everyone's favourite Aussie. Sorry.
Daniel Ricciardo.
Sorry, Oscar Piastri. But yeah, it's going to be Mr. Daniel Ricciardo. We thought it'd be kind of interesting, seeing as there's not been any races for the past 10 years.
It is race week, though.
And there is going to be one coming soon. So this is the last kind of filler episode we've got to do. We thought it'd be kind of fun to delve into Daniel Ricciardo's career and talk a little bit about his future options.
Because I kind of think, though, even though he's not on the grid currently, he's still quite a big story.
Yeah.
And a big presence around the grid.
Yeah.
Which says a lot about him, really. So I think it's quite apt to talk about a bit about his career and then where he might go.
Yeah.
If he'll come back, where he might go to, what's next for him. Yeah.
Because we both got kind of different, I guess we both became aware of Daniel Ricciardo at different times. I've been into Formula One quite a bit longer, like 2010, 2011. You sort of joined more 2020-ish?
So 21? I sort of joined when he joined Renault.
Yeah.
Half-arsed.
Yeah.
And then properly the season after.
So we've both seen kind of, well, not that we've both seen different bits, but you've probably seen a different side to him than I will have seen.
I've seen the not so great side.
Yeah. So we thought it'd be interesting. We'll go through his career really quick.
You will.
I will fill you in on what he did. And how things went, and then we'll kind of go from there. So it all began way back in the day in 2011 when he joined a team called HRT, his Spaniard racing team, not hormone. What is it?
Replacement therapy.
Yeah. Back then there were 13 teams in Formula One. And HRT were very much one of the backmarkers. And when we talk about backmarkers in Formula One these days, we kind of, I don't think we fully appreciate what backmarkers were back then.
The backmarker might get lapped, maybe once.
Yeah, like back then, HRT and I think it was Caterham and Mana Marussia, they were the three backmarker teams. They were about 4 seconds a lap slower, I think, 4 or 5 seconds a lap. They were not quick cars. And as there were 13 cars on the grid, they basically never got points. So poor old Danny Rick came in and just basically got, I think, half a season's experience at HRT. Then, in 2012, because he was a Red Bull Junior, he joined Toro Rosso. Mm-hmm. On his first race for the team in Australia, he got points.
Smashed it.
Home race. Amazing. And then it was just kind of, I think it was like basically an uneventful sort of 2 years. He did well every now and again, but Toro Rosso went an amazing team back then. But during that time, the parent team, I guess, Red Bull, Vettel was winning everything that could possibly be seen at that time. I was loving life as a Vettel fan. And I think Ricciardo basically found himself kind of getting excited to join the top team if he could prove himself. I think Red Bull did back then what they kind of do now. They used Toro Rosso as like the sort of feeder team. Yeah, so they brought people in, tested them out, and then moved them up if you could show that you were good enough. And I think at the end of 2013, Mark Webber, who was driving for Red Bull at the time, announced that he was going to retire. And Red Bull thought, let's bring in another Aussie. And so Daniel Ricciardo got the call up.
Here's one we made earlier.
Yeah, here's a new guy. And they brought him in for 2014. And he must have been so excited. You've just watched the team that you join in win 4 championships in a row.
Blitz everything.
Yeah. And sort of similar to how George Russell's kind of experienced stuff now with joining Mercedes. Ricciardo joined Red Bull just at the time when Red Bull stopped winning everything.
They're coming down the mountain.
So he joined the Constructors' Champions. His teammate was the reigning Drivers' Champion. And to be fair to him, he had an amazing first season at Red Bull. He beat Vettel in the head-to-head. He got 3 wins, all starting outside the top 3. He did a great job, and he finished 3rd in the championship. But as we now know, Mercedes were basically trying to win by as little as possible, and they just driven off into the distance pretty much most races. But yeah, solid sort of debut performance.
Best of the rest
in Red Bull, and I guess he's hoping, hopefully Red Bull pick themselves up next year. Nope, they didn't.
Further down.
Yeah, so Vettel left and Vettel joined Ferrari. Daniel Kvyat came in and joined Ricciardo, and it was just kind of an uneventful year, really. They slipped a bit further down. The constructors didn't do too well. But then in 2016, things got a little bit better. And once again, he finished 3rd in the championship, again, behind the 2 Mercedes drivers. He got another win in Malaysia, and he arguably should have got another win in Monaco. He started on pole, and then Red Bull forgot during the pit stop phase that you need tyres. So they called him in.
To put on the car.
Yeah. So they called him in from the lead of the race. Yeah. Jacked the car up, took all the wheels off, and went,
something doesn't look right.
And I'm pretty sure he was in the pits for about 20 odd seconds.
Nip down to quick fit, get 4 more, come back.
Just did like a quick sort of like, has anyone got any tyres here? Can we just stick some on? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was in the pits for about 20 odd seconds, and he only just lost the lead to Hamilton. So
that's how far ahead he was.
Yeah, he would have, if it had been a normal pit stop, he'd have easily won that race. So that was a bit of a sting, bit of a brutal way to lose out. But he did come 3rd in the championship, and he did well. 2017. Oh, sorry, no. There's one more thing I should probably talk about. It's kind of unremarkable in 2016. Just a little thing, which is a certain Max Verstappen.
Mm-hmm. Never heard of her.
No, brought into the team, and poor old Kvyat was just kind of kicked out.
By his wife or by
both?
Oh,
yeah. Basically, put like Kvyat. I think at the time Verstappen was coming up. Red Bull knew that they had to find a seat for him.
Sorry, but Max taking your seat and your wife. That is a flex.
Brutal, isn't it?
That is brutal.
Poor old Kvyat. I liked Kvyat as well. It was kind of harsh what happened to him. Jeez. But basically, Red Bull knew that they wanted to keep Verstappen and they had to keep him sweet. So they literally mid-season, not even mid-season. It was like 4 races in or something. Spanish Grand Prix. They kicked Kvyat out of the
Easy
team,
for you to say.
And they brought Verstappen in, and you'd be thinking like, well, it's Verstappen's first race in a sort of top car. He's probably going to do all right. He won the race. Yeah. He won the race. So poor old Kvyat got put in the bin, and
I think we'll all agree they made the right decision.
Tailed off, but yeah, fair enough. In hindsight, it was a good call. Because I think this guy's probably going to go on to do some. He's probably going to get a couple of championships and stuff. This Max Verstappen, but he was Ricciardo's new teammate, and so going into 2017, Ricciardo arguably was the more experienced sort of top driver, but Red Bull kind of fell down a little bit in the standings. Ferrari came back. That was the year Vettel was fighting for the championship with Ferrari. So Ricciardo ended the whole season in 5th in the Drivers' Championship. He did get a win in Baku. He did okay. But he had 6 DNFs in the season. So I don't think all of them were due to the engine, but quite a few of them were. It kind of became quite a common thing for Ricciardo to come over the radio and be like, guys,
it happened again.
Yeah. And that's got to be a bit frustrating.
And who was the engine supplier?
It was a certain team called Renault.
Oh.
Who
it's a cool little segue.
Who will feature a little later on. But then in 2018, Ricciardo finished 6th in the championship. Red Bull kind of stayed where they were, 3rd best team, picked up occasional wins. Ricciardo got 2 of them. He won in China and he won in Monaco. So he righted the wrong from 2016. They actually did put tyres on the car and he did win the race.
Insert cool Monaco picture here.
Jumping into the pool, which was pretty iconic. But he did have 8 DNFs. 8.
Yeah, you're slipping into Ferrari territory there, aren't you?
No, it's really not good. Really not good. And you know, I think it just got to the point where it was like insanely frustrating. Not all of them were engine related. One of them in particular was, I think it's been talked about a little bit. You're probably familiar with this one.
I think so. The crash.
Yeah. So Ricciardo and Verstappen were racing each other quite hard around Baku.
Mm-hmm.
They'd been racing each other hard for the entire race, and Red Bull had gone, no team orders. You guys
do what you like. Yeah.
So they did, and they crashed into each other and didn't finish the race. And it all kind of blew up a little bit from there.
The straw that broke the camel's back, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I think, you know, looking back at it, I think Ricciardo's sort of come out and said something to the effect of this as well. But I think essentially that was the moment where he decided, do you know what? Verstappen's getting favour in this team.
He's the shiny new toy.
Yeah, I'm going to bounce. Because, and I don't think it's that controversial to say that in that incident, I think Max was mostly at fault.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Daniel definitely felt that. And I think a lot of people felt the same. Max had moved under braking and Ricciardo had gone into the back of him. But Red Bull didn't come out and say that. And they basically just said, it's a driver incident, 50-50, it happens.
Says a lot, doesn't it, really?
Don't get me wrong, they were pissed. They sent them both back to the factory and had them both apologising to all the team who, you know, they were on for like a decent haul of points and they'd taken each other out. But I think Ricciardo would have felt a little bit hard done by in that one because
he deserved a bit more support in that one.
Yeah, it wasn't fully on him, and to be made to apologise as much as the guy who'd caused the crash, brutal. And I think that kind of sowed the seeds. And so roll around 2019, Ricciardo is not starting the season at Red Bull anymore. He is in yellow. He's driving for Renault.
He's in the Renault.
Yeah, he joined Renault for what was announced to be a multi-year deal. He basically came out and said that it's time for him to take a new challenge, fresh challenge. You know, the kind of like PR-y sort of stuff. Like, I'm onto new things and all that sort of stuff. And he put a lot of faith behind Renault that they would give him a car that would compete and that would, you know, help him get wins and hopefully championships. And it was a pretty decent payout as well, rumoured.
I can imagine.
So, yeah, things looked okay. He partnered up with Hülkenberg, start of the 2019. Hülkenberg.
Nico Hülkenberg. Nico Hülkenberg.
Didn't go that well.
No.
9th in the Drivers' Championship.
Quite controversial, the move, wasn't it?
Red
Bull to Renault.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Christian Horner came out, didn't he? And ever the guy to sort of just give like a chilled out take. He basically said that Ricciardo was running from a fight. And I think there is a bit of truth in that, if I'm honest.
Yeah, he's got a bit of form, hasn't he? I think with that.
Well, now we know, maybe. But I think definitely then Ricciardo was trying to position it as just something he needed to do. But I think realistically, he knew that if he was at Red Bull and if they ever produced a car that could fight for a title, he would be second fiddle to Max. And I don't think he wanted that. And
fair enough.
It's a tough situation to find yourself in. You jump to Renault. First year didn't go great. Highest finish was 4th, and 9th in the Drivers' Championship. Then we move on to 2020. Hülkenberg disappeared to Haas, and he got Ocon as a teammate. It went a bit better. The year as a whole went a bit better. He got 2 podiums, and he finished 5th. So
solid,
sort of best of the rest.
Yeah,
in the Drivers' Championship. Pretty decent all round year, and it looked like, you know, Renault were on the up a bit. They were doing better.
A couple of podiums as well.
Yeah. So then, bearing in mind that he talked about this sort of Renault project and that they'd sort of, you know, that he was excited to sort of take the team to the next step. It then comes out that he's not going to be driving for Renault anymore. Yeah, which was a bit of a wild one. In the sort of silly season that happened where all the drivers changed teams and whatever, one of the big moves was Ricciardo was leaving Renault and joining McLaren.
Yeah.
Now, I should point out, and we've probably skipped ahead a little bit here, but obviously sort of the Renault years were the time that you joined, sort of watching Formula One-ish, maybe halfway through the Renault years, but that was the sort of time. In his Red Bull days, Ricciardo was probably one of the highest rated on drivers on the grid.
The guy.
Yeah, he was the dude. He was the last of the late breakers. He put on insane overtaking displays. He won races from outrageous starting positions that, you know, you'd look at and be like, how has he done that? And he was the guy who, if you'd have asked people who's the next driver who's not already a champion who will become one, he'd be top of pretty much everyone's list. You know, Verstappen kind of worked his way up there as well. But when you look at like Max in 2020, when he was fighting the two Mercedes by himself, like, and everyone was saying he's going to be a champion one day, that was Ricciardo back in even 2014. Yeah. People started talking about that. So what was kind of wild was that he joined Renault with that amount of support behind him and that amount of like
the hype.
Yeah, hype and that amount of stock in him.
Yeah.
His stock was high. Everyone was like, this guy he's gonna do things with that Renault. And then obviously like 2 years in, he's leaving Renault. And so everyone's like, whoa, oh, okay. But he's joining McLaren. Wow. That's gonna be a combination for the ages. That he's partnering up with the young McLaren Academy driver,
one of the most
Lando Norris,
young drivers on the grid. Yeah.
So everyone's like, "Oh my god, this is going to be." And McLaren have been trending upwards a little bit. They've been doing better. So I think they'd even come third in the previous year's Constructors' Championship. So they'd been doing very well. And it's like, oh, this is just a match made in heaven. This Ricciardo, Lando, a McLaren. Like,
it didn't quite go down that way.
It didn't.
There was problems from the outset.
Yeah.
First of all, being the relationship between the two of them.
It was a strange one.
Don't get me wrong. Now, when we look back on it, and even now, they appear quite friendly. But at the start, it definitely wasn't.
Well, I think everyone expected it to be. So, like, back in sort of Daniel's Red Bull days, he had a great relationship with Max. Definitely at the start. Maybe it
I don't know anyone can have a bad relationship with him. Not Max, Daniel.
Daniel, yeah, he just seemed so sort of happy-go-lucky. But they were laughing and joking, and they were having so much fun. And also, Lando and Sainz, his then teammate, had this kind of funny, like brothers relationship. Yeah. So I think everyone was like, "Oh, you put Daniel and you put Lando together, it's gonna be amazing."
And they would always like laughing, making each other laugh in like conferences. And
yeah. And there was some, and then it just never really materialized. And I think, myself included, I felt that probably like Lando came out of the gate a little bit like defensive almost. Yeah. Because some of the statements he made.
He felt, it came across like he was very threatened.
Yeah.
Because as you've just said, Daniel came, I don't know how it was when he came over to McLaren, but as you said, when he went to Renault, we had all this pomp behind him, and it's kind of like he still had that, and Lando was like, oh.
Yeah, well, basically everyone's like, "Oh,
I'm the guy here.
He's gonna absolutely stomp Lando.
Yeah,
like he's gonna show him, like, you know, like." And I think what appeared at first to be Lando being defensive, Lando basically came out and said, "I'm gonna try and be the lead. I'm gonna try and step up my game and be the lead driver at McLaren here." And I think people rubbished him a little bit. And I probably did as well, but like in hindsight,
I think a lot of that was Drive to Survive.
Probably, yeah.
I think like, looking back on that now, he came across as such a petulant kid in that. But it would also be very easy for it to just be shot like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things he said taken way out of context.
Yeah.
I mean, not he still said those things, but in the broader term of what he was saying, they probably weren't as bad.
It's gotta feel like, I don't know how that would feel if it was you. Like you're in a team that you've been in for a couple of years, and then this big name, big personality, you know, big media following driver who
everyone just loves them.
Yeah, is joining your team, and everyone's kind of going, "Oh, he's gonna stomp you. He's gonna beat you." I understand Lando's response.
Well, I think it says a lot about your own character as how you take that, because you could take it at like how Lando was perceived to take it and go into your shell a bit and get really defensive, or you could go, "Wow, this is amazing for the team.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get on board this hype train because this is gonna like propel us.
Yeah,
this is gonna be great." And once it propels us, I'm just gonna win anyway. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I think realistically, the teammate relationship that everyone has is you want to beat your teammate, no matter who they are. And
it's your first opponent, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's your only real kind of yardstick. So I totally get Lando, like in hindsight especially, I get him sort of taking that stance. And I think everyone kind of expected Daniel to just wipe the floor with Lando, to be honest. And he did not.
It didn't happen, did it? Not at all.
No.
He struggled massively.
So he struggled. He finished 45 points behind Lando in the championship. He finished 8th in the Drivers' Championship. He did have a big high. Like basically all his performances were sort of like, what's going on? Is he all right? And then he had like one weekend in Monza where he won the race, and everyone was like, what is happening? But
and
Lando
he gave the whole I never went away.
He had the whole like, I'm back. I'm back. And it was like, oh,
whole Braveheart moment.
Is this a redemption story for Ricciardo? Is he back? Everyone loved it. I don't think anyone hated the fact that he won that race, apart from maybe Lando. He finished 2nd. But he looked like he was on the up again. It was amazing. Great stuff. And then it just never materialised again, and he slumped back down again.
Couldn't click on from there, could he?
Yeah, and it was really, really strange. And it was, maybe he's just struggling. Apparently the McLaren was a difficult car to drive, but he's struggling here. But to finish 3 wins behind your teammate, like, that's a big old gap there. Sorry, not 3 wins. 3 third places behind your teammate, 3 podium. It's a big old gap. But I think a lot of his sort of defenders maybe and supporters definitely were saying, come on, it's 2022. It's the year of new regulations. Cars are all going to change up.
The deck's going to be shuffled again. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. And it went worse. It went worse. And it's hard to say this, to be honest, because to go from those highs of this guy is going to win a championship one day to suddenly being... He finished 85 points behind Lando in that year.
Yeah, it's a chasm, innit?
85 points.
It's kind of unacceptable in the same machinery.
It's bonkers, isn't it? I mean, if you think about it, like if any other driver was doing that, you'd be like, what are they doing? They need to swap this guy out. And it's hard because it's Ricciardo and he's so likable.
Well, I was going to say,
he's a good driver.
I think it's because even though I came into the sport so late, it's even like it must be the car.
Yeah.
Like it can't be him. He's far too good to finish that far off the pace. It's just like the car's built for Lando. Yeah. Or the team's you start going through like all these things in your head. It can't be him.
But then it's 2 years in a row in 2 different cars. It's.
But then I think by
brutal.
the end of the McLaren, his McLaren journey, I think it became quite evident that I think he probably was just devoid of confidence.
Yeah.
I think he just the reserves were just gone. And then now as he's back as a reserve driver for Red Bull, I think this would be perfect. He's out the limelight. Well,
reset a bit.
Well, he's fucking not out the limelight.
No, he's still there.
He's still on all the Red Bull promotions, but like he can reset.
Yeah.
There's no real pressure on him. I think this could be really good for him, and I think it's probably what he needed.
Yeah, because I guess like in that sort of that year, everyone was dumping on him, and it became the thing that like what has happened to Ricciardo.
And you get all like the newer fans, even newer than I, are just like, who's this? Absolute donkey in this car.
And it was wild, but it would always be the media like what happened there? What? And I think he looked on for a couple of good results, and the luck didn't favor him. But then also a lot of the time he just wasn't there, and Lando was.
It is also worth remembering. I know he just touched on it. He did win in that car. Lando didn't.
Well, he won in 2021.
No, he still won in the McLaren.
But he's won in the McLaren, and Lando hasn't. But yeah, to be like outperformed that massively is a big old whack. And he was supposed to be with McLaren for 3 years.
Yeah.
And McLaren terminated his contract early. He was supposed to be driving for McLaren this year, and McLaren apparently came to an agreement with him and just went, this is not going to work, mate. You're out. And I think realistically, like Ricciardo might have wanted to stay. I think he was battered mentally at the end of that, but McLaren aren't going to keep him in the car regardless. So I think amicably terminating his contract is a PR speak to basically be like, come on, mate, you're out. Yeah. And then they brought Piastri in, so he's been fully replaced at McLaren. and he's, as you said there, he's taken a year out now, hasn't he? So he's sitting out the year. He's not on the grid in a team, but he is a third driver for Red Bull.
And
that's kind of where we're at.
I do think, by the way, that this, I think if he'd have had his way, what am I trying to say? So I think he could have been on the grid if he wanted to.
Yes.
I think there will have been teams who offered him a seat, maybe for the pay cut, and maybe he didn't want to take that. But I do think this is quite refreshing, because I think it must be so exhausting. Every team he's ever gone to, he's had this bucket load of expectation on him.
Yeah.
The whole world going, oh my God, he's going to do it. This is the car. He's going to do it in this. And then to fail, and then to do it again, and then fail. That must just be mentally, physically draining.
Yeah.
So I think it says a lot about him, the way he probably has been offered maybe a Haas seat, whatever. And he's gone, you know what? Let's not do this.
Yeah.
Maybe come speak to me next year.
Yeah.
Let's just take a year out.
And so he's development driver for Red Bull now.
And he seems to be loving it.
And he's loving life. But, and this is where things get really interesting, because obviously that's his career from the highs to the lows. And we're currently in one of those low lows. Where does he go from here? He's obviously talking about options for being on the grid in 2024. He has come out and said, I think it was he'd been in sort of discussions with Haas. I think people were saying he's got to go to Haas or Williams or something, and kind of just put some performances in that outperform the car, and then people be like, oh, he's back, and then
sure, to put a bit more stock back in his name.
Yeah, but he came out and said he didn't want to do that. He wanted to be at the sharp end of the grid, or not,
or bust.
Yeah, he's out. And so we find ourselves in this very interesting situation now where for next year, if he wants to be on the grid, like what options has he got? And I think that's kind of what we're going to go through now. Is like we'll look through the current top teams and where could he potentially go?
So if you'll humour me on this one.
Ooh.
We've done so we've been through all the teams.
Yep.
The driver's contract, we know in the end.
Yeah, we do.
So I want to quickly run through all the teams.
Yeah.
And just want you to just go sort of like a tier list.
Yeah.
Red Bull. So we got Max, whose contract runs out in 2028. He's probably got the second safest seat in Formula 1 after Lance Stroll.
Yeah.
Not happening. And Perez's contract runs till 2024, and I can't see that them being him. I can't see him being a driver there.
No, I think when you look at Red Bull, you've got to also look at who else is in the driver market, and you've got
there's that as well.
You've got people like if Red Bull wanted, anyone would drive for that team. Literally anyone. I think probably with the exception of Hamilton, they could literally go to Sainz or Charles or Russell or anyone and be like, "Do you want a seat?" And they'd be in, because you'd have to be insane not to.
Yep.
So if Red Bull have got that choice, and to be brutal, why would you pick Daniel Ricciardo?
No, I get it.
Yeah.
And as a Red Bull fan, it's great seeing him back in Red Bull.
Yeah.
Even though I never really seen it the first time, he just looks right in the suit.
Looks like he's home.
Yeah, he just looks right in the suit, but I can't see it. I don't think there'd be a seat available there.
The only chance I could see him going to Red Bull is if both Max and Perez leave. It's the only
and I
option
can't really
I can
see a world where that happens.
No, and as we've said, Red Bull have their pick of anyone.
Yeah.
So realistically,
and there's only
really
going to be one seat for the foreseeable, I would imagine. Can't see Max going anywhere.
No.
And as you've just said, they could have anyone. So Red Bull, no chance. McLaren,
nope,
absolutely no chance. We got Lando's contract running out in 2025, but I don't buy it. And then Piastri's in 2024. Alfa Romeo.
This is a potential
one, because you got Zhou's contract runs out in 2023. Now, it would depend on how they wanted to go with it, because Bottas's runs till 2024. And a lot of teams seem to like the really experienced older head driver and the new up-and-coming buck.
Yeah.
Obviously, if Zhou was to lose his seat or move on somewhere else, which, by the way, I don't think he deserves to lose his seat. I don't think he does. They would have two very, very old, much older experienced drivers, and it depends if they want to go that route.
Yeah, exactly. And, they've got Bottas on.
I'm going to say, I haven't said that. Bottas has not been great this year in that car.
No, he hasn't. But he's, unless something mad happens and he gets kicked out, I don't really see a seat there for Daniel in the next, for next year. I think Zhou brings all of the Chinese sponsorship that you could ever dream of. Teams want that.
And he's solid doing performances.
Yeah, I was going to say, and he's doing a lot better than people would have expected.
He doesn't deserve to lose that seat.
No, he doesn't. So unlikely. I mean,
definitely not a no.
Yeah,
but unlikely.
Maybe for a massive pay cut or something, he could potentially wheedle his way in there. And you've also got to remember that in a couple of years' time, Alfa Romeo will become Audi. I think Alfa Romeo are actually leaving at the end of this year, and then it's just, I don't really know what the deal is, but I think it's just going to be Sauber for the next couple of years, and then it'll go to Audi, and there'll be a works team.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're playing the longer game, that might be a seat that you'd go for, but arguably Ricciardo's going to be 36 by that point. Are they going to take him? I don't really know. Especially if Bottas is sort of integrated into that team and getting on well. Yeah, I don't really see that big of a seat there.
Well, next we've got Aston Martin.
Yeah.
And that's, I can't see it, because you got Lance, who has got the safest seat.
Yeah, Lance is there until death.
He's literally, I couldn't find any information on when his contract ends, because it probably hasn't got an end date.
Permanent.
Yeah,
just renews every year.
And then you got Alonso, who is on a multi-year deal that runs till 2024, who's having the best time of his life and putting in unbelievable performances. Yeah. Why would they get rid of him, and why would he leave?
It would make absolutely no sense to get rid of Alonso.
Nope.
Unless he does something insane. Or he just drops off massively. It's Alonso. He's not going to.
No.
I mean, he might do something insane, but he's not going to drop off.
He seems like the kind of guy who could wake up and just go, "Nah, fancy this, fancy something else."
Yeah, but no, he's obsessed with racing.
Yeah,
he's at the top with Aston. It's not flukes; it's pure performance. Yeah. I can't see him going anywhere.
No, so that's a closed door on that one.
Closed off.
Next year, I've got probably one of the more likely teams in Haas. So you got Nico's contract runs till 2024, and Magnussen until 23. So there possibly could be a seat there.
Yeah,
if they don't renew old K-Mag, which I'd be sorry to see him go because I like him. But they've rumored to have had talk before. Maybe Ricciardo slightly priced himself out of that move. But it seems to me like one of the more likely options.
Well, see, this is where you get the whole thing where I think Haas would be all over that.
Yeah.
But
oh my God, can you imagine Gunther Steiner and Ricciardo at the same team?
He'd be having it.
It would be a marketer's dream.
But Ricciardo doesn't want to go there. He doesn't want to go to a lower team. And I think if you split the grid in half, if he doesn't want to go to nowadays back markers, the back four, then that's why he's not there currently.
I think he may have to come to the realization that he's going to have to pop his ego to one side.
Yeah. If he wants to be on the grid, I mean, unless, there's other top teams, which there aren't really. I think, he's possibly going to end up there, but he doesn't want to, which I don't know how well that's going to go in his favour if he then approaches them again and goes, "Hey guys, I know I said I didn't want to be here, but I can't find anywhere else, so could you just get me in for a bit?" Haas will know that if he performs well, he'll be looking to jump out as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
So, I mean, Haas don't want rookies. They want people who are going to just look after the car and do well.
Keep the car alive.
Yeah. Yeah. So, realistically for them, like, Hülkenberg and Magnussen are fine at the moment. I don't think Haas are that bothered.
Again, one of the more likely, though. If there was any to offer him the seat.
Yeah.
Next, you got Ferrari, which I think is quite an interesting one.
Yeah.
Only because, both drivers' contract runs till 2024, so there wouldn't necessarily be the seat anyway until next season. However, I just think it's a strange situation you got going on there, Ferrari, because I don't think Leclerc's going to put up with that much longer. And smooth operator Sainz, I don't know. I think maybe he could wedge himself in there if his agent pulled a cracker. I think out of the top teams, they're the only one that's in any way, shape, or form likely.
Yeah.
Maybe not even likely, plausible.
Yeah. I know that like Leclerc has said so many times that it's his dream to win a championship with Ferrari. Maybe that's sort of
maybe might have to put that aside.
Yeah, maybe it is a little bit, but yeah, potentially if Ferrari lose one of them, maybe. But then again, they've got the choice of a lot more drivers on the grid. So
do you not think though
he could? He
brings a lot with him.
I think so, but I think what damages him is the last couple of years and then taking a year out. Like if you're a top team, you want to take on a driver who's just ready to hit the ground and go. And I think although Ferrari have had their millions of issues, I think from sort of how they're talking still, the team as a unit seems pretty okay. They seem pretty solid. They seem like Leclerc and Sainz are just kind of getting their heads down and getting on with things. They're not championship contenders this year, but they're trying to build the team back up. I don't really see either of them jumping ship.
No.
So potentially if one of them did, maybe, but it's a long, long hope. And he's basically just got to sit and wait if that is the case.
Yeah.
Assess
the option.
Yeah, I don't really see that. So unfortunately, I don't think
you don't fancy that one, no.
I don't think it's an option, sadly. But
well, then I'll bring you to Alpine.
Yeah, nope. Oh no.
Yeah, so this is as closed the door as any.
Well, okay. Let's. Is it? Because I wonder how many people have changed in management roles and stuff since his time at Renault.
Very true.
But yeah, I don't think it's likely.
But I can't see it being likely.
No.
I think they've got a pretty solid driver lineup.
Yeah.
Knock on Gasly, who's both contract runs till 2024. They've got another year.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
Maybe going back isn't.
Yeah.
Not the thing
not a
to
good
do.
look, even if that was an option.
With your tail between your legs and maybe not. Williams. Another interesting one, but I would pop them in the same category as Haas.
Yeah.
Like as you've said, they probably would be one of the teams to offer him the seat.
Yeah.
But would his ego take the seat? Probably not. Probably not. But you got Albon and Sargent there at the minute. Albon's 2024 and Sargent's 2023, which is surprising. They give him a 1 year.
No.
I don't think he would.
They'd have him. I don't think he could.
Yeah, I think they would offer him a seat tomorrow. But I don't think he would. But as we've said, if he wants to be back on the grid, that ego is going to have to be popped in the bin for a minute. Yeah, sorry. Alpha Tauri?
No, just it's a Red Bull development team.
That's a strange one. The reasons to know that 2024 and 2023 respectively.
I mean, if Red Bull literally ran out of drivers to put in that seat, maybe
it's an option. But
there's plenty.
Yeah, and then the last but not least, Mercedes, which isn't going to happen either, is it? Got George Russell, whose contract doesn't only run till 2023, but he's going to be their golden boy for the next God knows how long. And Lewis will stay there for as long as Lewis wants to stay there. Is he just on 1 year rolling?
He hasn't renewed yet, but I think he's probably still got the fire in him to keep going now.
Yeah, I think they would want him. He would probably want to stay, so why would they get rid of him? He wouldn't.
So realistically, what we're saying is Ricciardo's options here are Haas, Williams, and potentially Alfa Romeo.
And also I am going to still put it in there, like a long 1,000,000 to 1 shot of Ferrari.
Yeah,
but I still don't see it.
It's not great. It's not great, is
it's
it?
Not.
And you've got to when you think
it's so such a shame
when we're taking Ricciardo and then we're looking at where we'd place him. You've got to remember that if seats became available in these teams, the top teams have access to whoever they want, pretty much. Like if a seat at Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, Aston becomes available,
everyone's looking for the next Max.
Yeah, are they necessarily going to pick someone who's 33, 34, and has had 2 bad years and then a year out of the sport? I don't know. I mean, I know he brings a lot of marketing.
He brings a lot with him,
but yeah. So realistically, he's going to have to go for Haas, Sauber / Alfa, or Williams, and will he do that? I don't know. So
It's a shame, though, isn't it? Because he's just we need him back.
Oh,
on the grid.
I'd love to see him driving again. I would, but if he's sort of positioning himself as I will only drive for a top team, then I think realistically we could be facing the fact that Ricciardo's not coming back to Formula One, and that's a big shame. But it happens.
So what does your heart tell you? Will he or won't he be back? Just yes or no?
I think he probably will be back in one of the lower teams.
You heard it here first, guys. Don't put your mortgages on it, though.
No, but what would be really interesting is what do you guys think about this? He arguably should have won championships had he had the right car and been in the right place at the right time. He wasn't, and I think that realistically, that's the brutal nature of Formula One, and that's how it goes. You know, we're sitting looking at the grid that we've got now. You've got Leclerc, you've got Russell, you've got Lando. All three of them definitely should have championships in their future. They might not get them.
No.
And it's just how things fall, look, being in the right place at the right time. And I do wonder whether kind of Daniel's time there has run out and whether he's got to start looking elsewhere, start racing elsewhere. Which is a real shame.
It is.
I loved watching him racing.
And it's definitely not, the grid's just not the same without him there.
So, yeah, we hope to see you back, Danny Rick. But if not, fair play, and we wish you all the best in wherever you end up, whether it's IndyCar or sports car racing or something like that. I'm sure you'll continue racing. But yeah, this ends the Ricciardo segment. That was a bit of a change of pace for us because I think in the previous episodes we've done, we've just kind of chatted about things that have happened and we've not necessarily gone into anything with a plan. This is one where we were like, do you know what? We want to cover a driver's career and kind of go through the highs and lows a little bit and then kind of maybe talk about where they might go in the future. If you like this sort of thing and if you'd like to see us do more of this sort of thing, let us know because I'll be honest, it's been quite fun to put together, hasn't it?
It's been fun to listen to because obviously, because when we started this podcast, we started it with the dynamic of two mates talking about Formula one who knows a bit more than the other, and a sort of an educational experience. So that was always the plan, like a newbie's point of view and a slightly more experienced point of view. So that was the first episode, really, where that's of been the dynamic. So no, it was really cool for me too.
Sweet, I'm glad you enjoyed. I enjoyed it. As well. So if you've enjoyed it, let us know and we'll try and do more of these because it would be fun to start picking back through other drivers and maybe we can get your help in picking who we should look at. It doesn't have to be, current drivers from when I've been watching or anything either. It could be from, 30, 40 years ago. So yeah, we thought we'd round out this episode with a fun little, while we are quite we can research things. What we do like doing here is just sticking our finger in the air and going, and just pulling a load of names out of that. What we're going to do here, without any factual evidence, without any practice running, because they haven't done it, we are going to predict the top 5 at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Josh, who is number 1 for you?
To win.
Yes, to win. You've got a lot of drivers to pick from here, remember, so take your time if you need to think about
it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I know it's really boring, but you're stupid if you say it now.
That's a good point. I have picked Verstappen.
I am shocked. Let's move quickly on.
Anyway, P2.
Perez.
Okay.
Because for one, he's sat in a Red Bull.
Yeah.
The Red Bull's DRS is so powerful.
Yeah.
And the straights and DRS straights on Baku were so long.
Nice. Yeah, I've also gone for Perez. I think we've been pretty uncreative here, but it's obvious. I mean, I think qualifying, that DRS, they're going to be miles away. And then race, it's just kind of them doing them. Unless something crazy happens, which, it's Baku. That occasionally does happen.
Could do.
But
Max could blow another tyre.
Yeah, he could. In third place.
So I did mine after you. I was doing mine, and then I was like, these are stupidly close to Alex's, and this is really boring. So let's spice things up a bit. I went with Lewis. Mercedes are going to be a bit of an unknown, really, because they haven't started the season great, but they are on the bandwagon of bringing loads of new updates to Baku. So I'm just gonna go with maybe it'll be really good this time, and I'm gonna go with Lewis in third.
It's a good call. I've also gone on the Mercedes bandwagon this time. I've gone for Russell. I think he's been looking really solid this year.
He has. I've got him to DNF, by the way, just to add a little bit more spice on there.
I think he could have the edge on Lewis in Baku. He did get a podium last year in what was arguably a worse car. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping for good things, and maybe with the updates, they could be up in the mix.
Sick.
Yeah. So Russell P3, P4,
Alonso.
Yeah.
And I've literally just put
your reason is amazing
because he's happy.
just have more Alonso driving around, going, I love this track.
Yeah.
This is great.
I've
gone P4. I've gone for Lewis.
Oh wow. Okay.
Just because I can't see. I feel like the difference in pace between Lewis and George is so tight that I can't realistically put Russell in third and then predict Lewis anywhere other than fourth. I just feel like they're so close to each other. There may be issues. I'm kind of banking on the fact that Mercedes upgrades are going to do some good stuff here. They may not.
They may.
But they may. And if they do, I think Lewis and George are going to be up there.
But if they don't, this is going to be a long, old, tough season for them.
It is.
In fifth?
You have picked.
Oh, I've picked Sainz.
And why have you picked Sainz?
Because he's a smooth operator.
He is. He is that.
I just really I like to see him smile.
Yeah, especially after the tears at the end of the last Grand
Prix. To
be
fair, I don't know if he'd be smiling at P5.
Probably not.
But
no.
Yeah.
Funny enough, as a Ferrari fan, I was actually going to put them
in there
higher, just purely on some sort of misconstrued remnant of hope that they'll actually do okay. But I still feel like they probably eat the tyres too much, and I don't know the back is going to be particularly good for that. So in P5, I've put Alonso, and I want Alonso to be on the podium. I think, hand on heart, most people do. And I'd love him to continue that record of being on the podium for every race this year. But I just think that the Aston's probably going to struggle on the straight.
Yeah.
And Baku's got a long old straight.
It does.
So I think they're going to struggle a little bit there. I'd love to see him in the mix, but I think P5 for Fernando Alonso.
Well, there you have it.
So that's what's not going to happen.
Get down the bookies.
Yeah.
Put your money on that.
Yeah. If you win, we'll take a percentage. If not, I mean,
gamble responsibly, idiot.
Why did you do that? Why? Yeah, I'm excited to have a race again. It's been a while. Can't remember what.
It's been about a month.
What happens?
We'll have.
Oh, before we go, we should probably mention there's a sprint race.
Oh yeah, okay.
I forgot about that. There's a sprint race at Baku.
Not predicting that.
No. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm glad because we kind of get 2 races. So
yeah,
been without one for a while, and
I don't think the teams are happy, are they? But I'm kind of excited.
It's not about them; it's about me.
If you make a mistake here, that's going to cost you a lot. So maybe it's going to be a topsy-turvy race.
Yes.
Maybe we'll see a non-Red Bull win.
Maybe.
I admire your restraint.
I doubt it.
Not just punching me in the face right there. But
maybe.
Yeah, who knows? I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this one.
Me too.
Is that a pod?
It is. Just really last thing before we go, the competition's still running. Got a week left. We will announce the winner on the Baku episode, so the weekend of that race.
Yeah, so next week.
So you got 1 week left to enter. Dead simple. Just go to our Instagram, which is
Pitlane Collective and tpc.pod.
Yeah, and there's a little picture there, and just follow the instructions. It's super easy, and you'll win loads of cool stuff.
Yeah. And I think we're going to try and pick the winner actually on the podcast.
Yes.
So podcasts, these are usually going out sort of sometime on a Tuesday, depending on how the internet behaves and how quickly we can edit them. So we will message the winner before that.
Yeah.
But if you want, jump on the pod and watch and see if it's you. And yeah, that's
it.
That's the end of this episode.
Thanks for getting this far.
Yeah. cheers for joining us, and we will see you after a race.
We will. Enjoy.